This video was created by VinylicPuma of VinylicPumaGaming.
What's up, guys? This is VinylicPuma, and I'm back with yet another Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel Worst Weapons video. Now, while I won't be dispensing with the vulgarity in this particular video, I wanted to do something a little bit different other than just tell you guys how bad some of these guns and weapons are. Instead, I think I'll talk about how the developers over at Gearbox could improve some of the weapons that I'm saying are bad. So we'll have a "so how do you fix it" kind of section for each gun that I ultimately end up discussing. Now, without further ado, these will be what I think are the top 8 worst Jakobs guns and weapons available to the player in Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, starting now. Number 8, the Striker. So the Striker is easily one of the worst legendary shotguns from Borderlands 2, in my humble opinion. And this is sort of because the Striker is essentially designed to be a shotgun sniper type weapon. And actually, I will admit this, is that this could work quite well, as the Striker does have the accuracy and tight projectile spread needed to function in this particular way. Now, the big problem with the Striker is that it ultimately has god-awful recoil, and there's also quite a bit of weapon sway while you're initially aiming down the sights, and this of course affects your ability to acquire targets while aiming down the sights. So how would I fix it? Now, the first thing I would do is I would remove the weapon sway entirely, and I would reduce the recoil of the Striker significantly. This way you will be able to acquire targets at a considerable distance and then take them out relatively quickly and just in quick succession. And you could also probably boost the damage a little bit as well, maybe just enough to where you can one-shot a bullymong enemy with a well-placed crit headshot. Number 7, the Stomper/Wallop. Now, this gun, for the most part, is just obsolete. That said, the Wallop, which is essentially a reskinned version of Borderlands 2 Stomper, fares a little bit better in the pre-sequel than the original Stomper Jakobs assault rifle from Borderlands 2. Now, the Stomper isn't really that much better than a Jakobs standard assault rifle. The only significant improvement is the increased critical hit modifier that the Stomper possesses. And really, once you reach higher difficulties, you're going to need something that just deals a lot more base damage than the Stomper currently does. And mostly, this is just because there are enemies that can regenerate through the damage that the Stomper ultimately deals. So how do you fix it? Well, I think that giving the Stomper an extra projectile and boosting the base damage would really improve the gun's viability in later difficulties, especially if the second projectile was as accurate as the normal original projectile. And this would make it an alternative to the Jakobs Gatling gun, as the Jakobs Gatling gun, in my humble opinion, is an example of a Jakobs assault rifle done correctly. As a matter of fact, I didn't include the Hammerbuster 1 and 2 in this list, but those also could be on this list, and they could do a similar buff with those that I'm suggesting for the Stomper/Wallop. Number 6, the Tidal Wave shotgun. Now, I've never really liked TK's Tidal Wave projectile design. I find its shot pattern to be relatively inaccurate, as you have to properly judge distance and then pray that the bullet arcs just at the right time in order to achieve a critical hit. For the most part, this gun is mostly overlooked for the Lady Fist, which is probably going to be one of the best pistols in Borderlands 2 and even the pre-sequel. And I think that it's a shame, as the Tidal Wave is sort of a unique and cool gun, even if the projectile physics are kind of gimmicky. So how would I fix the Tidal Wave? Well, the first thing that I would do is increase the travel distance of the projectiles, because currently it's too short to effectively use, especially when the projectiles ricochet off of surfaces. The second thing that I would do is to give the projectiles the ability to randomly crit. Now, it doesn't have to be an extraordinarily high chance, because the Tidal Wave can crit by the player's choice, by getting the projectile to hit a crit spot, but maybe just enough to make people actually want to use the gun. Maybe if it was a 2 or 5% chance or something like that, I mean, that would make the gun a little bit better in my opinion. Number 5, the Hydra. So the Hydra fires projectiles in a purely horizontal formation. This means unless you're shooting at wide enemies or at something with massive critical hit spots, a decent amount of the projectiles that you're firing are just going to miss. Like many other triple barrel bandit shotguns, this weapon also has very high ammo consumption at 3 ammo per shot, and the high pellet count is awesome on the Hydra. Unfortunately, the high pellet count can't be put to good use because so many of your projectiles are missing due to the ridiculous formation of how they shoot out of the gun. It's weird that the Hydra is part of the Hammerlock DLC, which is also host to other amazing weapons like the Interfacer and Twister shotguns. So how would I fix the Hydra? Well, change the projectile pattern would be the big thing. Horizontal projectiles don't work. It didn't work back in Borderlands 1 with the Hydra assault rifle, and it sure as heck doesn't work in Borderlands 2. Number 4, the damned Cowboy. The biggest problem with the damned Cowboy, like several other Jakobs weapons on this list, is that the fire rate on this gun is capped. Now, on the one hand, I can see why the developers of the Hammerlock DLC wanted to do this. Overall, weapon variety is nice, and having an assault rifle that's on par with a sniper rifle is a pretty good idea. However, if you're going to make something that's supposed to be more on par with a sniper rifle, it needs the same critical hit modifiers as well as the same base damage that other Jakobs sniper rifles have. As a quick aside, my theory is that for the sake of game balance, I guess the decision was made to ultimately nerf the damned Cowboy into oblivion. And what you're left with is something that's not particularly a great Jakobs assault rifle because of the low fire rate, and it isn't really a great ranged weapon either because it's not as good as your typical Jakobs sniper rifle. So how would I fix the damned Cowboy? Well, make it like a sniper rifle. This means match the damage and critical hit modifiers of the damn Cowboy with other Jakobs sniper rifles. And I think a lot of people would like this, honestly, as you would have an alternative sniper type weapon that uses assault rifle ammo, which is a lot more common and you can carry a lot more of. Number 3, the Rex. Alright guys, so we have our first hand cannon-like weapon that we will be going over from Borderlands 2. Now, typically, hand cannons should probably deal a lot of damage and deal a lot of critical hit damage to your enemies. So does the Rex do hand cannons justice? Well, no. So like the damned Cowboy, the Rex was a gun that was probably really cool during development, but was subsequently nerfed because there was fear that it would balance out other in-game weapons. And honestly, guys, I think this just sucks because the end result is a weapon that's not a particularly great Jakobs pistol, and maybe even more than that, is an awful pistol in general. So how would I fix the Rex? Well, what I would do is I would remove the fire rate cap on the Rex for starters, and then I would boost the overall damage, both the base damage as well as the critical hit damage, and then I would decrease the gun's magazine size. And that way you could make it sort of like a pistol times 2 or times 3, however you get decreased magazine size, sort of like the luck cannon from the pre-sequel. This way you would have a reason to use the Rex over other pistols, but like some of the other weapons, it does have its drawbacks. Number 2, the elephant gun. So the elephant gun has several different problems. Now, the first is a little more subjective because the elephant gun doesn't have a weapon sight. Not just like a scope like most other sniper rifles, but there aren't even iron sights on the elephant gun to help you aim and hit targets properly. Now, the second has to deal with the relatively low accuracy of the elephant gun, which when combined with the lack of iron sights means that you will be missing quite a lot. And the third and possibly the worst part about all of it is the low fire rate and high reload times of the elephant gun. So what all of this means is that you have a gun that's hard to aim that can also miss, and if you do miss, you're screwed because the fire rate and reload speed of the weapon are way too low. So how would I fix the elephant gun? At the very least, boost the accuracy, increase the fire rate, and give the elephant gun iron sights. The latter of which can be accomplished quite easily by putting just like a Jakobs barrel on the gun. Number 1, the Unforgiven. Unforgiven? More like unforgivable. Sorry guys, I couldn't resist using that gag, but it's amazing to me that the Unforgiven came out in the state that it did, especially considering how laughably awful the Rex was. Now, the Unforgiven doesn't even have a unique weapon skin per se, as it's essentially copied and pasted from the other standard purple Jakobs pistol rarity skins that you can find throughout the vanilla game. Now, like the Rex, the problem with the Unforgiven is that it's a hand cannon type weapon that has a capped fire rate. Now, I sort of understand why they did this, but ultimately it's made the gun a lot worse off in the long run. And this is because you essentially have a bad Jakobs pistol that has a capped fire rate and is possibly one of the worst but rare as crap pistols in Borderlands 2. So how would I fix the Unforgiven? Well, I would do something similar to what I suggested with the Rex. You would remove the fire rate cap and increase the damage, both base and critical hit damage, and decrease magazine size slightly. Maybe make the Unforgiven like a pistol ×3 and give it a magazine size of maybe like 4 or maybe even 3 bullets per shot. And then maybe what you could do is you could give the projectiles the ability to crit at random. And maybe you could have that chance at about like anywhere from 10 to 20% or so. That way there are advantages to using the Unforgiven over something that's a lot more reliable like the Maggie or something else. Anyway guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up this particular video. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, and as always, take care and I'll see y'all next time.